You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. When social anxiety meets artificial intelligence, how does our experience of belonging begin to change? Stay with me for this groundbreaking discussion. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. For many neurodivergent adults, building connection can create anxiety and uneasiness. This episode explores how emerging technology is offering ways to make social interaction feel safer, easier, and more authentic. Joining me today are Jōrni Pastrano and Brittany Moser, who combine their expertise to bring new insight and innovation to the autism community. As the mother of a son with autism, Jōrni Pastrano has both personal and professional experience with autism and has been navigating support services since his diagnosis at age 2. She received a Master of Social Work degree from Wurzweiler University and a peers certification from UCLA, an evidence-based social skills treatment for adolescents and young adults with ASD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and other socio-emotional challenges. Brittany Moser is the Director of Learning Design in the higher education space and a respected autism specialist who brings Australian-born perspectives to her work in the United States. With a master's degree in autism studies and extensive experience in NYC schools, she has dedicated her career to developing innovative tools and resources that enhance the lives of the autism community. Here is my interview with Jōrni Pastrano and Brittany Moser. Hi, Jōrni and Brittany. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because our topic today, social anxiety meets artificial intelligence. I feel this is a brand new one for the podcast. I don't think we've talked about this before, so I am very curious and hope our listeners are buckled in and ready to go. I feel like this is such a timely and relevant topic that we need to be talking about more. So thank you for joining me today and welcome both of you to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. And I will invite you, like I usually do with my guests, to maybe share a little bit about each of you and tell our listeners about the parts of your journey or story that you feel connect to what you do today and also what it is that you do today so they can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. I love the intro. I love the title. It's pretty on point. We can tell you more about the story, but I think for me, my story really begins and ends and revolves around being a mom to my son, Jesse. He is 20. He is going to be 21. Oh my gosh, in 2 weeks, which is crazy. But he was diagnosed with autism pretty early by the age of 3. And right then and there with that diagnosis, I immediately became his problem solver. I was in charge with pretty much trying to find solutions for every single obstacle in his social and emotional and physical development. And when he was younger, I don't want to say it was easier, but there were solutions. There were obvious answers. We did gluten-free, casein-free, dairy-free diet. This was long before there were Whole Foods and GF labels. Sadly, I cooked more chicken legs in olive oil and salt and pepper than I ever want to care to remember. We flew to California to do hyperbaric for a foggy brain. We did ABA therapists and OT, and there were always these really viable or too many resources and solutions available for me. And as he became older and we're in the teenage years and high school was emerging and high school graduation was emerging, I really started to think about a whole new set of problems that I really didn't have solutions for. And it was really about his adult social life. What would that look like? What would happen when problem-solving mom wasn't behind the scenes organizing a hangout for him, or his teachers weren't doing it. And this is a tough time for any age group, right? High school graduation, college graduation, we have to reinvent our entire sense of community. We have to reinvent ourselves. That's so hard. And imagine how difficult that is for an autistic or neurodivergent adult that's struggling with social anxiety, that's struggling with communication deficits. So this was all very much top of mind for me. It kept me up at night a lot. I didn't have any solutions for this problem. And around this time, the show Love on the Spectrum aired. And I don't know if any listeners know the show, but it was fantastic. And Britt and I share a love of that show. And I was so excited to see attention on this age group. It was amazing, but it left me with more questions than answers. What happened in between those dates? What happened when the love coach wasn't there feeding them information? And it really just sparked this big realization that the missing gap for this demographic was really just a sense of belonging. And how do we create that? And that was in my head quite a bit when I met Brittany. She worked at a practitioner's office that my son was seeking services for. And her and I quickly talked and hit it off and talked about this show. And I think probably within the second time I met her, we were joking that we were going to build a dating app. And then quickly realized, why would we build a dating app when this is a demographic of people that struggle to make friends? It's a demographic of people that have social anxiety that's crippling. What do I say? How do I say it? And so together, we really decided that we were going to try to create a social platform that would be for the autistic and neurodivergent population, but provide them with the tools and the resources to actually help facilitate those connections. I have the longer story, but I think it's really important that Britt tells you her perspective, because I'm the mom with the heart, passion, mission, but Britt is the clinical expert here. I'll give you some airtime.
Okay. Yeah. So my background is definitely different, but complementary to Jamie. So I started off my career as a teacher. I always thought I would be a primary school teacher in Australia. And then I met my husband and came over here and started teaching in New York City and in Harlem in the Bronx. And the school, I was lucky enough to start teaching in a school that specialized in integrating autistic students into the mainstream classroom. And they had a really interesting model where they had all different kinds of supports. And I just fell in love with trying to understand this population and how we can put specific supports in place so that they could thrive and have a positive schooling experience just like everybody else. And so I got my master's degree in autism studies, and I just became really dedicated to figuring out. I'm also a creative person, so I became really dedicated to figuring out how can I create things and that can be used as tools in the classroom to solve these issues that these specific students are experiencing. And then over the years, you come up with there's themes and there's common strategies that we can employ. So as time went on, I just built up my tool bank and my understanding of different strategies that we can put in place and understanding the autistic diagnosis more. And eventually, fast forward, as I met Jamie and I was working at a different clinician's office, we met and I had been watching Love on the Spectrum, and I just felt like everything clicked and came into place when I was watching that show and just loving it and adoring it so much. But you could see these cast members were going on these dates and they had a bit of coaching beforehand. It just went flat. And I just so badly wanted to jump into the screen and provide the checklist or the prompts or the different tools that I would do with the students in school and just give them that extra oomph so that they could thrive and just have that extra push to thrive and enjoy the date and have that positive social experience. And so it just clicked of, okay, I think I know what's missing here. I think that we can't just set people up. We have to also give them the tools and the support in place so that they can get the most out of this experience, but also not be as anxious about it either, because how struggling people can be to go on these experiences when they know that they're missing what everybody else seems to have already. So that was when I met Jamie. We felt like we had the solution, and we'll talk more about how that solution evolved over time. But yeah, so now we are almost ready to launch Synchrony and put that out into the world.
Amazing. And thank you for sharing both of your stories. I feel like that sort of collaboration that comes together over a really big gap in what is available I think we can all agree that social connection is a vital part of mental health, of physical well-being. So if individuals are struggling with specifically that, it can have very big impacts, not just on their mental health, but also their physical health. So I find that you found a gap where there really is a need to provide something. And maybe can one of you share with our listeners a little bit about when individuals with neurodivergent traits or on the spectrum are in social situations, what kind of challenges are they facing specifically? Maybe give our listeners a bit of an idea of what is happening in those situations that makes it particularly challenging for them, or what are some of the things that they're coming up against. I'm almost feeling that some of the listeners that are also introverts might identify with that as well, because as you were explaining some of those things, I was hearing myself in those situations. So maybe give them a bit of insight of what happens when we come into a social situation or even making friends or interacting.
I could probably tackle that just being a mom and seeing it throughout the years. To back up, I think inherent in being neurodivergent or being autistic means that you already struggle with social cues and social inference. So just right off the bat, not being able to understand, is somebody joking? Are they asking a question literally? If somebody says to my son, like, how you doing today? Now he's 20 and he knows how to answer it. But if you were like 13, he might say, doing? What do you mean doing? I'm not doing anything right now. Just that literal word doing. So just starting off with just the basic understanding of language and when it's used in context is already a challenge. But then throw into the fact that it's unstructured conversations. These are individuals, for the most part, that really like things black and white. Gray is very hard. So rule-based things create comfort, create order, create structure, create a sense of calm. Now, when you take friendship or social interactions, all those rules go out the window, right? You have to get in there. You have to be able to make eye contact, which is already difficult. You have to be able to understand context, and you have to be able to really expose yourself, ask questions, answer questions. It is much more comfortable for this group of people, for the most part, to ask questions rather than answer. This is, for, again, I'm making very big generalizations here because autism is a huge spectrum, but in general, when there's anxiety and a lack of confidence in your understanding of context, what usually happens is you're more comfortable being the one to control the environment. So what that looks like oftentimes are interview style conversations, where one person is asking a lot of questions, the other person's saying yes or no. And it doesn't make for really good, deep connection. It makes for what looks like a one-sided tennis match. One person's hitting it and then the other person picks it up and hits it back, but they're not playing with each other. So any unstructured social setting is incredibly anxiety provoking.
Yeah, I want to add on to that a little bit too with Jamie described so beautifully the nuances that can come in when we talk about social communication difficulties and differences. And that's with an autism diagnosis. And then we also think about a neurodivergent broader sense too. And anxiety plays such a role in all of these perspectives. And I think everybody has experiences with anxiety to at least, if it's not for you, to at least be empathetic to people who are really experiencing that. And when it comes to social situations, how much your anxiousness can interfere with your social confidence and your abilities, right? So think about a really scary job interview that you had and how anxious you might have been in the lead up to that, and how those anxious feelings in your body from whatever experiences, whatever's going on in your head, how much that impacts the way that you perform in that job interview. I think that's a nice example I always keep in my head. And so if we can figure out a way to minimize those anxious feelings so that people can start to have more positive social experiences time and time again, and then that way we can start to build up people's confidence, and then they can go forth into these social interactions with less anxiety and more confidence and more positive experiences.
Yeah. And again, I spoke from the lens of autism, but this is an app for neurodivergent adults. So there are plenty of people that have ADHD, and it's a similar level of anxiety because your brain is moving at one speed. You're speaking maybe and processing differently, and it can feel like a big game of what's that jump rope, double dutch,
Yeah.
kind of trying to figure out when to get in without getting hit and smacked. So again, to Britt's point, that anxiety and that lack of confidence and those lack in skills are really present amongst the neurodivergent population.
Yeah. As you're explaining some of this, I think I'm understanding more sort of the breadth and depth of this also, because maybe when we say social anxiety, we're thinking about somebody going out to have a meal with some friends or to the theater. This is really just so much more broad. We're talking about relationships within the family. We're talking about relationships with friends, maybe romantic relationships. We're talking about working in a job environment or running a business, whatever comes along there. We are talking about daily interactions, like maybe healthcare interactions, therapy, fun activities, hobbies. This really touches on everything in life where we need to be interacting with other human beings. I'm starting to understand why this is so important to offer what you are offering. And having a lot of neurodivergent individuals as friends, I definitely can appreciate how I think this could help what you are describing and take away, as you said, some of this anxiety, which I feel is present in a lot of situations. And it doesn't really go away until the person, I think, feels more safe or understood. But especially if it's somebody they don't know well, it's a very triggering situation where it can be hard to even navigate that.
If you take it a step back, even just that first initial conversation, we want Synchrony to help actually start that first connection. And then we'll have our AI support to help them navigate that conversation. But for my son, for his friends, for so many neurodivergent adults, the anxiety starts with, how do I talk to them? How do I even say hi? How do I even make that doctor's appointment? Because I'm afraid, I'm anxious. So we want to help get them to jump off that first diving board and get into the water, and then give them support while they're in that pool.
Yeah, that's wonderfully explained. We're dancing around the actual solution that you both came up with. So tell us a little bit more about that and tell us what Synchrony is. We're getting a sense of what it's meant to help with, but give us an idea of how it is actually meant to do that.
I'll tee it up and I'll let Britt get into more of the details. She is our, you want to say your title? We didn't do that.
Yeah. So my title at Synchrony is the Chief Clinical Product Development Officer. Shorten that to product person.
Yeah, so I'll let her get into the features, but really what Synchrony is, as I mentioned, it's an AI-supported social app. AI support means that not only are we going to offer an app that's going to help connect neurodivergent and autistic adults with each other, but we're providing support through an on-demand social coach. So our on-demand social coach is AI-driven. It's named after my son, Jesse. So we have Jesse available to help with those chat prompts, with those conversation starters, with that guided support throughout the app, so that once they find their people, Jesse can help continue and deepen those connections through guided support. And I'll let Britt get into more of the features and details, and you can hopefully visualize it.
Yeah, so I want to try and paint a clear picture for your listeners to understand. And you can imagine a dating app if that's a clear container for you to picture this. So it's called Synchrony. You'll see us everywhere in January. Very exciting. But more or less, it's a social app, friendships and romantic, more or less human connection, right? We were just talking about the importance, and your audience knows the importance of human connection for healing, for happiness, that's just baked into our biology. And neurodivergent people are no different to that. We all need human connection. We are striving for that by tailoring this specifically to the neurodivergent audience in specific ways. Number one is we're keeping it safe. We're keeping it verified to make sure that our community that we are building this for stays within that community. So there will be multiple points of verification to make sure that you are suitable for this community and also that you are who you say you are. A big part of this is to make sure that we're matching people, or the people who are being presented to you as interests are based on your common hobbies and interests. And so you will be able to insert what are your communication preferences, but also what are your big ticket items that are your absolute passions that you're super interested in. And those are the people who are going to show up for you first. Where we're trying to be less shallow than a lot of the existing dating apps are, and like a lot of the problems that are showing up that people talk about dating apps and how hard it is. This is different to that. We're going based on human connection here and based on what we know with the neurodivergent population and how important interests and hobbies and
common
like
interests are everything. For
everything.
My friend Jessie, if you like sports or music, you're in, and you're in for life. It's an important feature. Britt, thank you for really highlighting the interest-based matching feature.
Yeah, interest-based matching is really important. And then next, so once our members are matched, we know that it's really hard to get those first conversations going, to know what to say next. And so that is where Jessie, our AI support, comes in. And I want to highlight a difference because it's not like an AI chatbot like you would be talking to if you had a customer service issue. It's not like that at all. And so what happens is if you've matched with somebody, Jessie immediately is there for you and can give you suggestions on how you can kick off the conversation. But it's not general suggestions how you could kick off the conversation like we had originally planned, and then AI has evolved so much over the last 12, 18 months. So Jessie actually can see how and why you matched with this person. So sports is a great example. Jessie can see that you both matched because of your interest in sports, and then can tailor how you can kick off that conversation based on some of that background information, which is fantastic. So here are some suggestions of how you could start talking to Sarah, for example. The next piece with Jessie is another difference between discussing with a customer support chatbot is that if you're talking back and forth with Sarah, Jessie is already broken down so that you don't have to be really good at AI prompting. We've already done that hard work for you, and it's based on many of the social communication difficulties that neurodivergent people typically have. So you're talking with Sarah and you click on the little Jessie button and 3 different options will pop up. One of them is click this button if you need help expressing yourself. One of those buttons is click on this if you need help understanding what's happening. So Jessie will read through your conversation and help with some social decoding and be able to explain to you what he or she thinks is going on in this conversation to give you some social nuance. And then lastly is how protect your comfort. So helping our population set clear boundaries with the people that they're talking with, which is really important, not just for a safety concern or being able to have those boundaries, but it's skill building as well, right? Because if you click that button, it's going to give you suggestions. Meanwhile, if you click any of these buttons and take any of the suggestions that Jessie is suggesting, you can personalize them, you can edit them however you want before sending them. It's not just a quick click this button and it's going to go off to Sarah. You can click it and then tailor it to be whatever you want it to be. In addition to those 3 buttons, there's also a full open-ended option like any other search bar or AI where you can ask Jessie anything. But we feel like it was the best solution to break it down to be more specific, because part of the success with AI is being able to ask it all the right questions. So we've already done all of that hard work to train it into the areas where we know most people will have difficulty. So why not make it as easy as possible? Am I missing anything, Jamie? That was a long spiel. Am I missing anything about Jessie?
Those are the key features. I think that the key here for this group of folks is fostering skill building opportunities, right? Allowing them to deepen connections and really have independence. These are not kids. These are young adults. They're 18 and up. And some of this idea came from my own experiences being a mom and Jessie saying, Mom, write this text for me. Or what do I say? How do I say it? When? That crazy anxiety. And so now we're giving these young adults an opportunity to not have to ask mom everything, not to have to ask a teacher, to have that opportunity to get the support when needed, if needed, in a supportive, non-judgmental way. There's that human side to it as well. We've been at it about 1.5 years now. We're excited for it to launch already so we can actually get it into the hands of the people that need it the most.
Yeah. Absolutely. It sounds like an amazing resource. And I'm really curious, are you matching people on there with the intent of actually having them connect, I want to say in person at some point? So are they close in distance, or are you matching them, the country or the world, with the intent of just having them connect virtually in this app? I feel like that's something I'm very curious about, on whether there's this expectation that at some point you'll go out for coffee or you'll do an activity together, or this is just virtual for building those skills and getting used to communicating and chatting with people in a more virtual setting.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's a bit of both. So that will come down to the user and how they set up their preferences of like their radius of people that they want to meet with. Some people will want to go and meet in person. Some people will not care so much about the geographical distance. So that comes down to the user and how they set up their radius. I think that it's important for us to remember that this is for neurodivergent people, and meeting and making friends is different, and that's perfectly acceptable. So there's, in the neurotypical world, I feel like that's the goal, right? Is that we meet up, we've matched on these apps, we meet up, we go on our first date, and then hopefully we get married, and then we keep going. And I think that is a bit of a difference here, is we want to set people up for not only just the skill building, but we want people to be able to connect, make friends, and remove all of those neurotypical pressures about what you're supposed to do next. If you want to keep talking on Synchrony, that's great. If you're getting a lot out of using Jessie as a tool and you're finding it easier to make friends in this sort of format rather than having to go to a speed dating down the road or having to go meet up in person, all of those pressures are taken off here. And this is purely built for this population to come together, completely be themselves. And this is the space for that. All those other pressures are taken away.
I think that's a great point. And down the line, we do have visions of having Synchrony have in-person meetups. So once we have an ample number of users and we've really ensured that Jessie, the AI and Synchrony is working the way we want it to, phase 2 of our rollout will be to have Synchrony hosted events based on places that our members have shown their common interest fall. So it could be a Dave and Buster's, movies, TGI Fridays, and we want to encourage those meetups. But before we can do that, we need to get users on the app and really feeling successful with their social abilities. So by the time we get to those meetups, they don't need to ask Jessie for help every second. They feel more comfortable talking and engaging.
That sounds wonderful.
Synchrony 2.0.
Yeah. And that's something I'm very curious about, because sometimes just speaking virtually with someone just feels a lot more safe or a lot more comfortable because you're in the comfortable surroundings of where you live and where you feel safe. So I feel that's a really great start to that. And is this available in the US only, or will this be available internationally for users as well?
The goal is for it to be international. We have to start one country at a time, but we do want this to be global. Yes. Yeah. This is not a US specific issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like part of where the theory hits the practice is for putting this into, with all the different regulations that you have internationally around that. So I absolutely look forward to this launching, and I'm guessing it will be fairly close to when this episode airs. So very much look forward to that. Can you give our listeners a bit of an idea? Now, you mentioned that people will be matched interest-based and then have a coach, Jessie, that they can interact with. Can they also use this if they just don't want to interact with somebody on the app, but for example, they need to, like you said, book a doctor's appointment, or they need to get their car taken in for service or something? Will this coach be available to dig into those kind of things, or does it have to be specific to somebody that
I love that question. And what's so great about that question is we get that question very often, which reinforces how much there is a need for this kind of support. So the short answer is not initially, because we really need to make sure that the AI supports and grows with the user base. It would be our greatest wish down the line to be able to offer that feature elsewhere, but that has to be after we perfect it for this community and this capacity. But thank you for recognizing the need that's there, because it exists.
Yeah. And also, I want to say there is truth to the trickle down effect there, right? Is if you have people start to gain that social confidence and the social skill building that's coming along with Jessie being there, mind you, and Jessie's providing in context feedback and support. So if people are having all these positive interactions and hopefully skill building along the way, things like booking the doctor's appointment won't be as daunting, or going to get their car service won't feel as daunting, all of those things. Hopefully, that there's a transfer from those skills from in Synchrony, the app, to outside into the real world as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That would be a real win-win.
That's the dream.
I feel that's absolutely possible because I feel there's a learning involved with that as well, right? Where I imagine would start trusting yourself more as you're seeing others react to how you're interacting, and that you're building that trust in yourself. And as you guys said, that confidence that you can interact in various social situations. So I feel that could be super
repetition.
helpful. Yeah, absolutely. And has this been beta tested? I'm curious if Jessie has tested Jessie.
That's such a great question. My Jessie has not tested Jessie. I'm going to leave him out of it. My Jessie's a unique kind of Jessie. He likes to give advice rather than actually take advice. Thus the name. But we will be doing beta testing. We are gearing up to do that next month. We are fine-tuning how and when, but we have a couple of universities that are interested in piloting this for us. So that's very soon, next month. Right, you probably have more intel because you just had that call yesterday. But we're still on target for next month.
Yeah, so next month we're starting beta testing, and we're doing the logistics for that right now. It's very exciting, and I'm thrilled to be seeing how this lands with the population. So that's going to be great. We're going to get a lot of great feedback, and yeah, there's not too much else to say there on the beta testing other than I just can't wait to see how Jessie is performing. I've done my own testing on the side with all of the prompts that we've been writing, the protective measures and all of that. So it's going to be great to see can he do it? Is he going to stand the test?
And fortunately, my son's name is androgynous. So we have a female Jessie as well for our prospective female members.
Wow, that's exciting. And I feel there's just so much to broaden into with that as well going forward that will be so supportive in this situation. Wow, I very much look forward to actually seeing this in action. And what are you both hoping that this will achieve, the app? And Jessie, do you have any thoughts about physically, mentally, emotionally? How will this support or maybe help individuals grow or gather different perspectives? Because these connections, and I think also self-confidence, social connections, these are all pieces that go, as I said, into our overall well-being. What are your hopes or expectations? How will this help people change beyond gaining skills for social interactions? But are you expecting this to actually change their well-being, their lives? What are you expecting from this?
Again, having such a personal experience with this, the short answer is we want Synchrony really to be the foundation for mental health. The most, I think, key feature when you talk to therapists about happiness is a sense of belonging. Loneliness is almost hand in hand with depression. And so if we can create an opportunity to offer a social platform that really just obliterates the feeling of loneliness and provides an opportunity to belong, the merits are indescribable. You're talking about just baseline of happiness, a baseline of connection. I think in that the most simplistic terms, a feeling of belonging and connection go hand in hand with just a baseline level of mental health. And I've had, unfortunately, a few parents whose kids are now 21 plus and they're neurodivergent. And unfortunately, I would say good 20% of my friend group have had their young adults in mental hospitals for really significant depression. And when talking to them, their answer is, but I just can't find my people. And that's so sad. And it doesn't have to be that way. From my perspective, I simply want Synchrony to offer a platform and an opportunity just to find your people and to belong.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Great, Jamie.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I do feel this extends beyond autism, neurodivergence, beyond any of that. We all just want to belong. And that is a fundamental thing that
human right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a want to, it should be a have to.
Yeah, exactly. I see where this definitely can fit. And as you both recognized, a huge need for this as well. So as I said, I look forward to seeing this in action when it comes out. And also, if there for listeners is an interest to be beta testing this and you guys are running some pilot studies, let us know if listeners can connect with you to be part of that or participate in that. I feel there's probably a really growing interest to actually see how this works and experience it for yourself in your life. So that sounds like a really fantastic piece going forward for people to see this hands-on and see how this works in their lives. So thank you for sharing all of that. And let our listeners know when the launch comes up for this, how can they connect with you? How can they connect with the app, with Jessie? Where does all this start for people who are interested?
With the AI.
Yes, the AI coach, Jessie.
Yes. We're going to pop the link in the show notes, obviously, and we want to direct everybody to our website to join our waitlist. And the reason why we're sending you straight there is because, one, you can learn more about us and our background and our why and all of those things. But the success of Synchrony is going to be based on how many people we have, right? We want to have as many people on Synchrony as we possibly can so that our members have as many people to choose from, as many people to connect with and find their group and find their people. So we would encourage everybody to sign up to the waitlist so then you have more direct information about the launch date. We know it's going to be in January. I can't tell you which date because we haven't landed on that date, but we're getting it very soon and you'll find out if you're on the wait list. And the other part is it's going to roll out as for free initially. And so we want as many people to get as much out of that timeline as possible. So click the link in the show notes.
Tell them the website.
Joinsynchrony.com. But yeah, the one piece of information that you probably do need, but in the show notes. And yeah, please join our waitlist. And
there's also some good blog content and relevant content for those that are interested in just feeling supported and feeling like they're not alone in their journey. And it's the same handle on Instagram and on TikTok and LinkedIn as well. So anybody that's interested, please join our waitlist. Give us support, let us know what you're interested in, and we'll be keeping you updated as we near launch.
Amazing. And for our listeners, if this is something that interests you, please pop into the show notes. We're going to be linking to the waitlist there and any other resources and information that might interest you as well. If you know somebody who might be interested, or you have a child that might benefit from this, an adult child, I want to say, please don't stay your children.
16, 17, you start to think about that.
Yeah. If you know somebody that could benefit from this, point them towards the show notes, point them towards a wait list. As Brittany and Jamie said, this will be a success if we're all working together on this and we're actually all jumping in there and actually taking some time to be part of this so that we can make this a better place for everyone. Thank you so much for sharing this wonderful project that you're both working on with our listeners today, with me today. I feel like I've learned so much in just this little time that we've spent together, and I hope we've given our listeners a bit of a perspective around opportunities where if they are feeling they're not belonging or they are feeling they haven't found their tribe yet, if they are neurodivergent, on the spectrum, or challenging ADHD is a challenge as well. So if they're feeling that, now they have some opportunities to go find a path forward maybe that works for them. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to thank you both for your time and your expertise as well. And coming here today, I feel we've spoken about something that I think we've only done 2 episodes about neurodivergence on the podcast. So high time to talk about this more. And thank you both for being here today and sharing that.
Thank you so much for your genuine interest. It was really, truly a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. We really appreciate the platform to be able to share what we've created and also just connect with you. And it's been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. We're going to do our best to proliferate this far and wide so everybody in the whole world gets to know about this. And thank you again. Take care, everyone. Be well, and we will hear you in the next episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.